Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Oksana Koshak, if you happen not to know me. Thank you for your kind introduction, and I would like to thank all the speakers and all the organizers of this conference, which has been planned for several days. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for all the hard work you do and you did before the war and keep doing right now in these difficult times. And to present I would like to pass the mic to my colleague, Olga Kirilovich, who will actually tell us why our work is so important right now. Good afternoon. Before we start our presentation about UPAW and the innovative crisis management for the well-being of animals in Ukraine, I would like to thank all colleagues, the speakers who have already spoken today and who will be presenting during this conference. Thank you for your contribution to the well-being of animals in these difficult times. Thank you very much for all the work you do. So let us start. Well, for you to understand the general picture, this slide is more for the international audience than for Ukraine, but I don't think anyone has the general statistical data. Over the 216 days of war, we have heard more than 11,200 air raid sirens, and that means that each hour we hear at least 2 air raid sirens. Back in March, Ukrainian Air Force shared this infographics on the internet for the global community to understand the scale of the disaster. They compared the 5 years of war in Syria and 22 days of war in Ukraine. During the 5 years of war in Syria, there were 100 missile hits. In Ukraine, it was 1,100 over 22 days, and end of August, the figure was 3,500. We don't have any updated information, but we know that the figure is rising all the time. And despite the fact that the Russian army has fewer and fewer missiles left, they still figure out other ways to attack our country. Now these are the drones which are attacking the Odessa and Odessa region. And these are the conditions in which Ukrainians have to live, and the animals have to live as well. And at the moment, we have 158,000 dogs and cats which need help, and we need 1,600 tons of pet food per month. So our system presupposes that people leave information that they temporarily cannot take care of their animals because they have lost their homes, because they have lost their jobs, because they have to move somewhere and they can't take the animal with them. And our humanitarian organization works to cater for these needs, to provide food and medications for cats and dogs. Starting from the first day of war, we started collecting the requests from everyone in need, trying to figure out what kind of assistance they might need. We have created a special website where each and everyone can register and indicate what pet they have. These also may be shelters, not only individuals, so these may be both individuals and physical and legal entities. And then we compile the lists, following which we distribute humanitarian assistance to different regions of Ukraine. At the moment, we have a different version of this website. We will simplify the registration procedure, and we will have separate modules for vet clinics, which also need support, and also for the advocacy organizations. And I would like to add that you see we have on the slide it is indicated that it's an open system to help cats and dogs in Ukraine, but now we get many requests to help horses, and we help them as well, and also to help bears. We did not cover very wide target audience of wild animals, for example, because we know that there are other organizations which will present here, and they occupy this niche. We have a very narrow focus on what we are doing, despite the fact that we actually help mostly dogs and cats of Ukraine, but we also help some other animals. So we collect the data and then analyze the data very carefully to understand who is in need right now. Over 6 months of war in Ukraine, we have seen that the share of homeless animals is 41%. So these are the ones who are registered on our websites. And here we have the shelters and also people taking care of the homeless animals. There are animals who used to live in the streets, and also the animals who came to live in the streets because their animals, their owners died, or the animals were lost in the process of evacuation. More than 40% of those registered in our system are the animals who have owners. So these are the pets, and 20% of them are pets and people living in the areas where active hostilities are taking place at the moment. Now we have almost 4,600 requests. That's the data at end of August. We don't have the data as of end of September, but we can definitely tell you that the figure will be bigger this month. On this slide, we can see the dynamics of provision of humanitarian aid to animals. So each column reflects the period from March to May. This is the first column, and the second is from June to end of August. And you can see quite interesting changes there. So, for example, the first two columns, which include the shelters, we see that the requests for humanitarian support have decreased almost twofold. And we can conclude that this is partially because they have started working with international donors directly, and they do not send their requests to us, and therefore they get assistance from those who sympathize with them, and they get more financial support. Very often we get some requests from the international donors concerning the use of these funds for us to make sure that the declared number of animals is actually there, and that the money that was transferred by European or other organizations were actually spent on the respective needs. Then we have green and purple columns. So these are pet owners. So green ones are the ones who live in the relatively safe areas, and the purple ones are those who reside in areas of active hostilities. So you see that the number of pet owners filing requests has increased. It can be explained by the fact that people who have left the dangerous areas have gotten access to internet. They learned the information about the possibility to get humanitarian aid from our organization, and now they can also apply for this assistance. Also, the number of animals cared for by volunteers has increased. There are many animals living in the streets because of various sad reasons, because of losing their animals, owners, and that's why more and more volunteers take care of these animals. So we can see that the kennels have filed almost twice as few requests as previously, and also the number of requests from charity organizations has decreased. So this dynamics shows that practically every organization has managed to find their niche. And while in the first months of war, everyone was doing everything and everyone was helping everyone, now we can clearly trace that each organization focuses on certain type of assistance they provide, and charity foundations which did not focus on helping animals, they work with people, with the military, and humanitarian assistance to animals is provided by specialized humanitarian organizations. What concerns the number of requests related to animals in circuses, zoos, and service animals is remaining the same, and it's very little in comparison to other figures that we have. When we started collecting the requests for humanitarian aid, we saw the needs to prioritize the regions, in terms of how critical these requests were, and we organized it into the table to understand which regions have sent the biggest number of requests and where there are the biggest number of animals in need. So you can see that Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Dnipro regions have the biggest number of requests. The tendency started in the first month of the war and has been unchanged throughout the whole time. Having received this data and having analyzed them, we can see that we can also use some derivative data. For example, if we take the correlation between the number of regions, the animals in the region, and the number of requests from the region, we can make some very interesting conclusions. For example, if we compare the Kyiv region, the Kyiv Oblast, the number of animals to number of requests is 47 animals, 47 pets per request. So 47 animals per person require assistance in Kyiv region. And if we take some average indicators of the number of animals in regard to a person in Odessa, then their figure is 51, which is even more than in Kyiv. In Sumy, where the number of requests and number of animals is pretty much the same as in Odessa, the indicator is 12 animals per request. So this gives us grounds to understand that we should keep working with this data, and then we will try to distinguish between various types of statistical data that we have received, how many animals are homeless, how many of them are pets with homes, and we can have statistics according to all the regions and then figure out where the situation is the worst, so where we could direct the sterilization efforts first and foremost. And I think that we should also additionally inform about the results of our research. So we are waiting for our new website to be launched, because it will provide more in-depth statistical information, and I think that this data will be interesting for the animal protection community in Ukraine in general. On this slide, we wanted to show you the growth in the number of requests to help animals with every month, and below you see the receipt of humanitarian aid. So you can see that the biggest amount of incoming aid was in March, of course. That's when everyone was sending everything to Ukraine and sharing it with everyone. So the only thing you had to do was to receive and to distribute that. Then the tendency was quite expected. It was not a surprise for us. So the amount of humanitarian aid was decreasing, and in May it became apparent that we will not have this mass incoming aid anymore, and that has become a specific work to attract the donors and the attention of the global community to protection of animals in Ukraine, to be able to ensure a stable level of incoming aid. Oksana says that these figures concerning the humanitarian aid are in tons. And this work required very prompt scaling of our team. We started on the 25th of February with 3 persons on the team, and by the end of August, we had already 130 persons. We had regional coordinators and, managers of regional warehouses where they receive and distribute humanitarian aid, and they service not only the cities but also the oblasts. We have many volunteers working at these warehouses, helping to unload and then to transport everything around the region. And also we have volunteers feeding the homeless animals, taking care of them. So this is a very wide network of people who are involved into these processes, and I can tell you that the work of UPAW in Lviv, team in Lviv, is only a part of that, because the rest is done by our regional teams, and we are really very grateful to them for that. Generally, our areas of activity include 4 sectors. The first one and the most extensive one, this is crisis management. It appeared as a response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But we also work on long-term infrastructure projects, on educational projects, and also on, legislative initiatives. Because we deal with the problems of animals in times of war in this presentation, so we'll be talking about crisis management the most, because this is what is most relevant in this regard. This area of activity includes the delivery of pet food at veterinary supplies, and also vaccination campaigns, also fundraising campaigns for urgent needs of shelters, patronage for destroyed veterinary clinics, and we also engage volunteer vets to help us in Ukraine. We provide psychological support to veterinarians and also work on other current projects. What concerns the delivery of veterinary supplies and pet food, what concerns pet food, we have delivered 842 tons of pet food in the priority regions. These are the northern, southern, central regions, and also partially eastern regions of Ukraine. We focus on the regions that have suffered from the invasion, the ones which are in the area of active hostility right now, and the central regions, which are a kind of a transport hub and all evacuation route to go through these regions. Many people spend a lot of time there, and we try to support the IDPs. Over 6 months, we have ensured 148 deliveries to regional centers, and having calculated the overall number of kilometers, we have covered around the country. So this is equal to the diameter of Earth, the circumference of Earth. So 80,000 of dogs and cats have received the monthly ration of pet food, and we have covered 47% of all requests on our website. We deliver veterinary medicines necessary for the work of veterinary clinics. Here we have Alexander Zubko from Dr. Vet Clinic, which is located in Ochtyrka. This is Sumy region. I guess these pictures are not that impressive, because you can see this is a nice clinic and a nice vet, and he has received a lot of humanitarian aid. But before that, everything looked like this. Ochtyrka is a small town in Sumy region. It is located 50 kilometers from the Russian border, and it's inhabited by about 50,000 people. So this town has only 2 vet clinics. One is municipal, and the other one is the private clinic by Alexander Zubko. The clinic was destroyed, and this town was in occupation. It was occupied as one of the first, and as a result of the invasion, we had to help the vet. We understand that supporting the vet clinics by medications and any other supplies they need is very important because this is the driver of Ukrainian economy. Our business should work, our business should pay taxes. But at the same time, the final beneficiaries here are the animals, and we are interested in vet clinics and vets being able to provide quality assistance so that the clinics can save the animals who need this or that help every day. And that is why we have delivered 10,533 packages of veterinary drugs to different regions of Ukraine, to different vet clinics. They include anti-inflammatory drugs and very other drugs. So what concerns insectoacaricides, we give preference to dogs here because we know that these kinds of infections are mortal for them, lethal for them, and we can say that we have treated more than 21,000 dogs in Ukraine. When receiving humanitarian aid in kind, meaning when these are the pallets from the European countries, we often see various drugs for animals. So we look through all this in the process because we need to check the best before dates. If it's already past the date, we can't distribute this to the regions. So we check all the dates of every bottle, every package, and then we put aside everything which is overdue. And these drugs are then supplied to the Lviv University for Veterinary Medicine, where they use it as a training material. So it's not a bad thing that we have the medications which cannot be used on animals because we have found a way to apply them. What concerns sterilization is not a priority. But if we receive the targeted funds to spay and neuter, for spay and neuter campaigns, we undertake to conduct campaigns like that. We have already spayed and neutered 162 animals. So this is rather nationwide campaign in times of war, and we are grateful to our partners who focus on this area of activity because we do understand how important it is to maintain stable levels of homeless animal population, and we're grateful to everyone who helps us do that. Quite recently, we have started some fundraising campaigns to support animal shelters and other organizations who take care of animals at the moment, because the longer we cooperated with them, providing them with pet food and everything else they needed, the more we learned about their bigger and more pressing problems. For example, we held a fundraising campaign to raise 6,000 euro to purchase a vehicle for the Shan's shelter. It was very important for them because they are a big shelter and they do a lot of work working with homeless animals in Zaporizhia, and they can't do that without a reliable means of transportation. They needed to transport pet food and also to transport the animals if they need to bring them to a vet. So we are really grateful to everyone who helped raise this amount of money. This is quite a significant amount of money, but thanks to our donors and our followers on social media who donated big and small amounts of money, we managed to raise the money to purchase a vehicle. And we also raised money to make a drinking water well at 80 Horse Club. They have many internally displaced horses, and they had a problem with drinking water. So they were very much dependent on the volunteers who brought water in bottles to these horses. So thanks to people from the armed forces of Ukraine, we managed to actually raise the necessary amount of money to organize a drinking water well. So it's great that people will actually try to work together, because even the smallest donations may help us solve some problems and do good things for animals, not only in terms of food or medications. So, well, 45,000 hryvnias is not, well, a big amount of money, so you wouldn't be able to buy a lot of water, well, that way. That's why we decided to have a water well there. So now they have this water well, and they have a constant supply of drinking water. When we started the campaign to deliver the medications to veterinarians and vet clinics, so we used the same system we use when we work with the recipients of the pet food. We have the video reports on our Google Drive, and each and every of our donors may actually go there at any time and see what was happening there. So when we started looking through these reports received from the vets, we saw many comments explaining the context where these pictures were taken or where the videos were taking place. So we heard some explosions, and the vets continued still operating their animal patients. So we realized that we need to offer the vets more than just medications. We understood that their work, well, their load on their mental health is just the same as of regular doctors working with the wounded. And actually, these vets sometimes also help save people. So we initiated psychological support for vets, and we have already offered 144 free of charge sessions, which help the veterinarians to overcome stress and to restore their mental health in case they have lost their business or their, well, homes, or, well, if some near and dear people have lost lives. We collect the stories about the vets in times of war. We want to translate them into English, and we will publish a book which will be available to the global veterinarian community, because we believe that the things done and experienced by our vets treating animals without the necessary tools and medications, their personal dramas, they will attempt to combine the vet practice and service in local territorial defense. Or, for example, when a husband is in the army and the woman is his wife is a vet, and she takes care of 5 children and still practices veterinarian medicine. These are impressive stories. Please join us. We have published the announcement on our social media pages, and there's also the email where you can submit these stories. We will have a professional literary editor, and we will have an illustrator, and we believe that this book should definitely be published. So this is a very brief account on our side, but we have done everything we could to establish an effective system to receive and distribute humanitarian aid to the regions of our country. And we are really grateful to everyone who spent their time and resources to feed these animals. All animals are equal to us in times of war, both the ones living at home and the ones living in the streets. And we are trying to support everyone, even helping the shelters and the kennels. We believe that in these horrible times, all animals are equal, and want to eat, well, just the same. So we would like to thank all those people who spend their time, spend their efforts to work for the joint cause. And we believe in our victory, just as all participants of this conference, I believe. And together we can achieve two things. The first is that well, we have to work hard every day, doing what we can do the best. And the second, when we join our efforts, we can do more and we can prevail over our animals. We are open to dialogue, open to cooperation. And we would like to stay in close contact with you, and we hope to win the war very soon, and to have a great celebration in Ukraine, and to organize a live conference, an on-site conference after that. So this is what I would like to address to Natalia. We should definitely gather for a conference after the victory. We will have many stories to tell. And we would also like to say hello to you from the whole UPAW team in Lviv, and I think that our regional coordinators would also join us in that. Well, thank you. We would like to thank all the organizations and all the speakers present here. Thank you for everything you do for the well-being of animals in Ukraine, and glory to Ukraine. Glory to its heroes. Thank you very much for a great presentation. There was a lot of interesting information, and you do a lot of different work. Thank you on behalf of all animals in Ukraine. We will probably have many questions, but I suggest that we have them separately. We will share the contact details of your organization, UPAW, so that people can address you directly. And we'll be collecting the questions if we get them, and then probably we should make a separate video as an interview, for example, answering these questions, because that might be interesting for many people. That's a great idea. Well, we were trying to, be in time, but we know that there are so many topics that could be discussed, and we have so much information we can provide. So if anyone is interested, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are open to dialogue and cooperation.